And welcome back to another episode of Loss of Down, brought to you by the newest member of the Bruiser Nation podcast network, a division of Snapmere Productions. Week 2 under our belts. Well, we got a Monday night doubleheader here. God, I love that. I usually like when they kick it off the year, but week 2 makes it feel a little bit special. I think I speak for everyone when I said every single game yesterday was good outside of like maybe 3, but it was phenomenal, boys. How was your weekend?
It was great. First of all, it's amazing they haven't done this yet, the NFL that is, with the whole Monday night schedule, because week 1, we're already so high on life having football back. It's almost wasted on week 1. Put it in week 2, week 3, where, yeah, Steven, these games were close, but let's not kid ourselves. The slate was a little boring. So while games were good, it wasn't. There's not those matchups that you're pounding the table over. So while it was exciting, I mean, yeah, we got exciting football, and that's all we can really ask for. So for as far as week 2 goes, boys, I am on top of the world. How are you two?
Whoa. We're just going to gloss over the fact that you had a weekend where you moved to Cleveland and, a wedding and,
Yeah.
How'd it go? How was the move?
It was smooth. Naturally, I overpack. It's who I am. So I had
you can overpack moving in somewhere for a little bit.
Well, I'm kind of gypsy lifestyling it, as you guys know, where I'm hopping from family's house to buddy's house. So when you do jump around, it makes it a little harder when I'm taking 6 or 7 trips in and out of the car. I'm like, hey, no, don't worry about me. I'll be right back. But yeah, I mean, the wedding was great. I felt bad for having to bail early. It was the one I was in the bachelor party about a month ago, but they understood, and it's great to be back in Ohio, man. All 3 of us, we're back in the same state again for a change.
Look at that. An Ohioan once again. How's it feel?
It feels great. I will say it's going to, I just love with my buddies to exaggerate the Yinzer accent for fun. And now when I do it here, no one's going to understand what I'm doing. They're just going to think I'm an idiot. So that part's going to be a little tough. But outside of the whole talking like a human being again, it's going to go pretty well.
Did you bring your IC Light with you or whatever that shit from Pittsburgh is?
At least they sell Yingling there. That's good.
You drilled it, Steven. Gotta go with Pottsville. If I don't get my IC Light, I'm gonna go Pottsville. I'll go Yingling, and then I'll be happy. There's never a bad day when a Yingling's cracked open. Come on.
It was a phenomenal Saturday for me because, and if you know me, my people that are listening in the South, Bojangles has finally opened in Columbus, and my God, it was packed to the brim. I've never seen a drive-through line that long wrapped around in some. Now, granted, I don't know if the restaurant is logistically in the best spot, but 45 minutes in line. Holy shit, boys! This food is on point. Made me feel like I was back in Carolina. The people in line also helped with that. A lot of Southerners in there. We're back. We are so back.
I cannot believe you waited 45
minutes.
Hell
yeah, I wait 45 hours. I don't give a shit.
I cannot. When I see the Chick-fil-A lines wrapped around the building, I'll go anywhere else.
Okay, first of all, David, always go in the Chick-fil-A drive-thru. They're used to that. They pump out chicken. You always go. You'll get out.
It doesn't matter.
Get the app, by the way.
But it's 15 minutes. I could be through 3 drive-thrus in that time.
Nah, I've never been through a McDonald's drive-thru. That's good. Wendy's, and BK better not even be on anyone's fucking radar.
Have it your way, baby. You remember our first Super Bowl bet, Steven?
Yeah,
the Impossible Whoppers. Tearing them up. Mm-mm. But I tell you what, Ryan Hill, as you know him, Steven, he's also a Southern boy like you. Same response. I just started getting Snapchats left, right, and center over the weekend. It's back. It's here. And you know my stance of maybe I have to try it again because I wasn't as high as you guys were on it. But he was the same way. He was waiting all day in that damn line. And I love Canes, but when it came back and had a similar line in Northeast Ohio, there's not a chance in hell you could catch me in there.
I guarantee you there's something that is around you that you would do that if you lived somewhere that didn't have it for the decade that you've lived here. I promise. Like, come on, there's got to be like a mom and the pop. David, come on.
One thing, and it's Points East Wings in Milwaukee. If they opened up a bar and anywhere around me, I would wait 45 minutes.
That's what I'm saying.
It's
in a heartbeat. What's so special about it? Is there like a beer that you like, or like some food that they have?
No, those fucking wings are the best I've ever had in my life. By far and away.
And that too, like you go there.
They're grilled, fried, like retossed.
Dude, that's
good. They're crispy. They're a little spicy. They're perfect. It's
exactly.
Perfection.
So if they go there, you're like, I gotta see. One, because I never thought I'd be this close, but two, they better not fuck anything up, right? Like I wanted to go there. The inside wasn't what I was used to, and a lot of the people agree with me. Like they usually had, it's old school Southern. So like you would walk in, you would just leave your plates there. Someone would be walking around picking up your trash. Now you got to pick up your own shit. They up in Columbus now they have like a biscuit. Like you view them making the biscuits. You don't typically see those anywhere like down south. But like the chicken was fat. Now that's what I'm questioning. It's like how consistent can this be, or are you just pumping it up because it's you're just opening it up. You want to get more locations because that's the main goal. But the biscuits, gas. The Bowberry biscuits, phenomenal. The Cajun filet.
I've heard that from every person that brings up Bojangles.
That's the most consistent thing ever. Doesn't matter if it's like chickens, this is I don't like sweet tea, but everyone's like, but that Bowberry biscuit, holy shit.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm intrigued.
And I walked in, there's this long ass line, and they're like handing out menus, and I was like, I'm okay. I don't need this, man. And then the people next to me never gone. They're like, so what's good here? And I'm like, oh, let me tell you, this, that, and the other. Oh, you want to make sure? Oh, I was.
Yeah, it's like a pride thing. All of a sudden, you're like, hey, come under here, kid. Come under my wing. I'm going to show you how it's done at Bojangles.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's been a lot of slack on the Southern community, right? Yeah, they're pretty racist, but that doesn't remove how good they are at fried chicken, which also just doesn't kind of makes you scratch your head about the whole racism thing. But whatever.
Yeah, you should be a bridge. We should all be like coming together over great fried chicken. It shouldn't be a polarizing thing.
And like the fixins, the mashed potatoes, the biscuits, and it's not.
We all love good food. Let's all come together.
Look, I haven't eaten dinner yet, so I'm gonna need you to stop and move on.
No, that's perfect, Dave. Let's get into it because I could literally take up the whole show. Now it's in Columbus. I'm gonna be down that manager's in the rabbit hole. I'm gonna be talking to him, emailing him, texting him. Let's get a Bojangles sponsorship here. But I think that's good because quite the overreaction. Just the first weekend that it's here. Let's go into week 2. Overreaction. It's cooking up a little bit. There's a lot of drama going on. And the biggest drama of it all, because we're all Ohio boys, right? Are the Cincinnati Bengals in trouble after now dropping to 0-2? And all of a sudden, Joe Burrow looks like he re-aggravated that calf injury that kept him out here in the offseason. The 27-24 score is a little bit deceiving here. Baltimore was in control for most of this game, if not all of it, towards the end of that second half here. Burrow continues to struggle. Jamar Chase has been non-existent. All of a sudden, on the other hand, Baltimore is 2-0. And even with OBJ down, they were still able to get it done because I can't believe I'm saying this. A Lamar Jackson dime to your boy Nelson Aguilar in the fourth quarter threw me through a loop. Was not on my bingo card yesterday.
He had a few good balls, to just be honest. Lamar, the passer looks like he's doing better. Maybe Todd Monken's offense is better than we expected. But for the Bengals, as the great Yogi Berra once said, it's deja vu all over again. And the Bengals are 0-2, and they look completely non-existent on offense the same way they did to start 2022. But to your point, Steven, Joe Burrow wasn't banged up after 2 weeks last year. And while we've been this whole last 2 weeks, I think all three of us even kind of felt a bad start coming for the Bengals. The only difference is with the 4 games coming up that we have been saying is easy, it's Puka Nacua and Sean McVay coming into Cincinnati next week for Monday Night Football. And all of a sudden, that doesn't feel nearly as gimme as it was. You want me to panic, then go 0-3. But if the Bengals win next week, I still think it's time to pump the brakes. Everything will be fine.
I'm right there with you. I think it all depends on Burrow. If the injury lingers and affects him, the Bengals could be in for a hell ride of a season. But ultimately, I still think we're going to overreact for the first couple weeks of the season. It's exactly what happened last year. And what did they end up last year? 11-6, 12-5, or like it's just the same story over and over again. So I wouldn't be surprised to still see them win the division. But if they start, I don't know, 0-3, 0-4, maybe 1-5, 2-4, I'd be a little bit more concerned. They got to get their first win, and they got to get it ASAP.
For instance, last year... Oh, sorry, Steven, you go ahead.
Joe Burrow, through the first 2 weeks here, has 304 yards, which is 28th amongst quarterbacks, 2 touchdowns, tied for 14th, 1 interception. I think that's right there towards the top, like tied for 15th. A 56.9% completion percentage, which is 28th out of 32 quarterbacks. And David, trust me, you do not want to look at those 4 below him because 2 of them are from our teams, which is fun. But the Bengals might be in more trouble than we think. I'm just putting it out there.
They might be, and the defense looks human, which last year at this point they looked a little better. Part of that could be the Bengals just aren't staying on the field. They have 9 3-and-outs through 2 weeks. That's crazy bad. And you can also, just last year we talked though, the Bengals started 0-2 and they went 12-2 down the stretch. Could this team do it again? Yeah, they could. I don't think this year's team's probably is good. So it's really important that they hit this next 4 weeks, because if they go into that second half in the AFC at 4-3, it could be an uphill battle still. The Chargers also started 0-2 after losing in overtime to Tennessee. They were up 11-0 in this game before the Titans outscored the Chargers 27-13 down the stretch. To start overtime, they had a 28-second 3-and-out, and they never even saw the ball after that. Eckler was out for the game, but the real point is it's yet again the Chargers continue to do what the Chargers do. They find ways to lose in spite of themselves. We preface this as a game that if the Titans win, it's going to be Mike Vrabel beating Brandon Staley. It feels very much like that. What are your guys' thoughts right now? Is Brandon Staley's seat as hot as I think it is?
Yeah, as hot as it can be. And I'm thinking, if they start, he's obviously not fired. If they start 0-3, is he already done with 14 games left in the season? That's rough, but Justin Herbert and that offense, it's quite the opposite of what Joe Burrow and their offense is dealing with there in Cincinnati, because they've had a good start, but Brandon Staley just can't seem to get out of his own way. And please stop me if you've heard that before, because I feel like at least once a week it's coming out of one of our mouths. Like, it's ridiculous. Brandon Staley is just coaching his way out of games when he was supposed to just be this defensive aficionado, and he can't get it done. I know we're speaking a little bit early, but Vikings against the Chargers next week, all of a sudden should be moved to prime time, because that's a playoff game in itself right there.
Loser goes home.
Loser essentially needs to go home and pack it up for the year.
It's what it is. It sucks.
I got nothing to add. It's pretty much it. And you can't even really blame Herbert either, because he's been balling. And so is Keenan Allen, and they still aren't winning games. It just feels like an organizational failure, not a player failure.
It's so bad. I want them to be so good. So bad. But I do, since we talked about both these teams, I want to ask the question. The Chargers, the Bengals are 0-2. But looking at it, who and what team are you more confident in making a playoff push and getting into the wild card spot here potentially?
I'm going with the Bengals. I think that for them, even at this stage, it might be under 50-50 if you looked at Vegas odds. The only thing is, I have absolutely no confidence in the Jets. So while I think that there might be a less than 50-50 shot for both teams, I said the Jets. Hope you know I meant the Chargers. The Chargers have continued to do what the Chargers have done year after year. I need to watch them actually get over the hump. We thought they did it last year. They're up 27-0 in the first half of a wild card game, and they choke it away. So no, I'm going with the Bengals until the Chargers ever prove that they can be a team worth betting on.
Did anyone see Brandon Staley's interview when he just keeps getting asked about that Jaguars game?
I saw a headline that he snapped, but I didn't see it.
Yeah, essentially it's like, is that still just lingering on from last year? Because that's 3 straight come from behind losses that they've had dating back to that Jaguars game in the postseason in January. I mean, it's a mental block and it hurts. What about you, David?
It's the Bengals are of the two. The Bengals are the only one I'm confident in making the playoffs. I don't believe in the Chargers. Year after year, they're the most loaded roster, or one of the most loaded rosters in the NFL, and year after year we watch them disappoint. And so I'm just, I'm not going to believe in them. I'll bet on the Bengals and Joe Burrow because even if they're worse, they're still a 50-50 with each divisional matchup in the AFC North, and I'll take that all day long over the Chargers.
Give me that black sheep pick. You know how I'm going to go. Give me the Chargers. The West has all started out slow. It feels like you have 2 0-2 teams, and we'll get to it. But I mean, Wally's Raiders are in first place right now, above the Kansas City Chiefs.
Sure.
I'm just saying. But we don't know what Joey B's timetable is, if he has any, if he's ever actually going to fully recover from this year. Dallas, Buffalo, and Baltimore are really only their out-of-divisional games here. Since he has San Fran, Buffalo, and Jacksonville, I do think the North is going to be a little bit more powerful all around this year. So I think since he has a way tougher road with having to play everyone except for Baltimore twice, he had to get, and Cleveland, but now they're 0-2 and 0-2 in the division. At least the Chargers haven't played their divisional games yet, so they at least have a puncher's chance, but they're both screwed.
I think there's a better chance than not that you see both miss than you see the Chargers make. But I mean, we can revisit this for our overreactions in a couple weeks to see, because I think the way it started the year, I wouldn't be surprised if one of these teams feels dead in about a month.
No, for sure. And remember, Cincinnati did it last year. They started 0-2, that first team since 2018 to do it, but 8 undefeated teams are left in the NFL, 5 of which reside between the NFC East and the NFC South, which is banana lands, as Wally likes to put. But it's the NFC East, the best division in football. The Cowboys, the Eagles, and the Commanders all at 3-0. The Giants just squeaked out a victory, thank God, yesterday. Shout out to the plus 700 live money line.
No. Look, the NFC East is the most top-heavy division in football. They have 2 of the 3 best teams in the NFC, but they also have 2 of the bottom 5 teams in the NFC too. So you can believe in the Commanders at 2-0. I still don't. But they're not the best division in football. I'll take at least the AFC West over them, if not a few others.
I'd put the AFC North is my still best division. The fact that the Cincinnati Bengals are 0-2 right now, and the 2 losses were both kind of ass kickings, came from teams that we could argue are top 10 teams in the NFL right now. I will agree with David. It's a top-heavy division. I'm interested to see if Washington might be able to keep up a little bit of this competitive streak. Sam Howell looked good, and Chase Young looked like the number 1 overall pick. And if he can be healthy and you get that Chase Young, we're talking about a very different future for Washington, and let alone just this year.
This could have been done in an email. These next few games, come on. You didn't want to watch. We're not going to worry about talking about them too much. The first one, the Thursday night football game, where Minnesota actually loses at the Link, where Philadelphia wins 34-28. Everyone's already talked about this game. We all know. But something just isn't clicking early for Philly. It can tell. And the fact that Justin Jefferson fumbling out of the end zone was really the deciding factor in this game. This Eagles team could be 1-1 with a lot more question marks.
You know how much I love this Eagles team against my own will and judgment. But they were outplayed by Minnesota on Thursday night. I know that there was a moment where they were up either 2 or 3 possessions in that game, but with the exception of about 7 minutes there in the first half, this was the Vikings game to lose. You're right. The fumble going out of the end zone, that hurts, which I'd love your guys' opinion on, because I'm one of the old men yelling at clouds. I don't have a problem with the rule.
Me neither. Like,
thank God we're it's one of those things where there should be a penalty fumbling it out of the end zone. And the only thing I can bridge the gap on with people is if you made it a 20-yard penalty and it went back to the 20, I can at least hear you out.
But that's the only thing. It's like, what's the caveat? What else would it be? Just like, oh, they get it at the 2. I'm like, that's bogus. They shouldn't be fumbling.
Yeah, it's like rewarding. Everybody should go for it at the goal line then. If you're getting the ball put back at the 1, it's like, what are we even doing?
Yeah. You've been awfully quiet over there,
Anyways.
David. I don't know. You seem like you don't like the touchback rule. Or you do.
I got nothing against it. I'm
clean sweep. I love it.
You know, if you fuck up, you got to own it. That's the way of the road.
It feels like we're all in the minority. Doesn't it feel that way? Every time this happens this is the worst rule in the NFL.
I know. I'm like, in what way?
Every time it happens, I'm like, well, I guess you should have held on to the ball. Like the Austin Safarian-Jenkins one, that Jets game against the Patriots 5 years ago. You can convince me on that, because that wasn't in the spirit of the rule. But what Justin Jefferson did, he was trying to make a big play. He fumbled the ball out of the end zone. I'm sorry that there should be a penalty for that.
No, we're all on the same page.
It's not even speaking of the same page. I don't even know how to go into this game.
Now,
the Raiders.
The Vegas Raiders are in first place in the AFC West, even taking a real fat L to the Buffalo Bills, but there's some positives.
Wait, are there? We said it on Thursday that this was either going to be a Raiders win or the Bills were going to win by 100. And it was weird because we kind of got our both things at once, because the Raiders come out and they score on a 5-play drive with effortless ease. And I was sitting there like, oh my God, are you going to break my heart? Are we?
Yeah.
Are we
they
going
are.
But I mean, it wasn't a heartbreak, because what happened after that was the Bills did what the Bills should do, and the Raiders did what the Raiders should do. The Bills are substantially better. It was 38-3 after the first 3 minutes of this game. The Bills are a lot better. The Raiders suck. There's nothing to this. Here, fun fact. I know this isn't rapid, so I'm going to be quick. 5 catches by non-Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs yesterday for the Raiders.
Oh, good news is Devontae at least cleared protocol already, so he's good to go for this weekend.
Great. Looking forward to it.
I'm just gonna let you sulk in that misery and move on to Chicago at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay beats them 27-17.
Baker.
Man, Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans look like a dynamic duo, and Baker has the Bucs rolling at 2-0, and I think he might have found another system to shine in a little bit. But it's tough not to be, when you're an average quarterback, it's tough not to shine with, 2 of the best receivers in football playing with you. But regardless, Chicago, I think the storyline coming out of Chicago is everyone agrees Justin Fields is broken, not the answer, got to move on. But what I found most interesting is they took, there were a couple of clips moving around social media, right? And it was Justin Fields drop back. This year compared to his rookie year, and it was Justin Fields drop back this year compared to Tua's drop back this year, and Justin Fields versus himself rookie year is a full second slower than his rookie year. So his drop back, his processing is a full second slower when it should be the opposite. I don't know what the hell their coaching staffs did, but this organization might have ruined him, probably did ruin him. But on top of that, this last game he was taking 5-step dropbacks and shotgun. This isn't college football anymore. You get 2.5, 3 steps out of shotgun, and you got to let go of that ball. The comparison video of him and Tua had the ball to a receiver before Justin Fields was done with his dropback. In shotgun formation, that's bad. That is really, 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 really bad. And the coaching staff should not allow that, and somehow we're 2 games in and it's the same thing over and over. He's getting progressively worse. And I just don't understand it.
It frustrates the hell out of me too, because I'm sure you guys have seen it's the duality of man. But the throw Justin Fields made at the start of that fourth quarter when they were down 20-10, it was like a 30-yard seed in the perfect spot between three defenders. And you are like, you see it in there. But then like 5 minutes real time later, Justin Fields throws a pick six on a screen pass where he basically handed it to the guy 4 yards away. Broken doesn't even begin to describe it. I don't even know if they're... Because broken implies you can almost fix. It feels almost like it is irredeemable now.
I think you can fix him. I do. And here's why. Because Geno Smith proved it. No, Geno Smith proved it.
I can fix him.
But think about it. I doubted it, but Geno Smith proved that you can be fixed if you go to the right situation and sit and you learn and you get corrected by the proper coaching staff. And then when you get into the right situation after that, maybe you're actually good again, right? I'm not saying it's going to happen for Justin Fields because he's got to get out of that organization ASAP to even have a shot, but it's possible. He's got too much talent. I was out on Justin Fields coming out of the draft, but then the last 2 years, you saw this. Yeah, you saw the talent, and you're like, all right, year 3, new staff, like let's get going, right? Like we can, Justin Fields can make a step forward. And a lot of people believe the same thing, but it's like, damn, he's gotten worse. And it's like a lot of that is mechanics and coaching, and I just don't understand it.
Well, that's what happens, and we've talked about it. You can't hire defensive coaches for not only a game that's so offensive, but like, come on, the talent that you have at quarterback and that quarterback room.
And it was like at that point, it was what, a rookie or a second-year guy?
Second year, right? Because this is third year.
Yeah, so like it's just like, to your point, it's like, why are you bringing in defensive-minded guys when you have a project quarterback?
Yeah, we're seeing the same thing in the Chargers with borderline fully developed quarterback, and they're still not getting it done because defensive-minded coaches, they just don't know. But we could talk about Justin Fields and that broken offenses. We could definitely talk about the videos that are circulating of like the misreads and running right into the back of his own line when he's trying to scramble, whatever it may be. What about Baker Mayfield throwing 350 yards against the Chicago Bears? How many games has Baker had of 350 yards? That's not even like, I'm not even trying to dig.
5, I don't know.
And this is, so 20% of his 350-yard games came on Sunday. Like, that's wild. And that whole organization is screwed. The defensive coach obviously can't get the offense going. What are you doing on the defensive side of the ball? Your specialty. Because you just let Jordan Love and Baker Mayfield toast you on back-to-back weeks. That's bad. That's bad.
Baker deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah, and it's not even a bash at like Baker, but it's like, dude, you have to at least be competitive against him.
No, but like my whole point is we obviously we pick and choose as sports fans, and I'm guilty like we all are of when you apply rules and like thoughts to players. Baker, though, has not really had a wide receiver core in his career. And this is without a doubt the best one he's had. So there's at least reason for optimism, especially given the 2 weeks we've seen so far.
This will be the last thing I say on this game, I promise. But there's one thing about Baker Mayfield is early on, I really did think he was going to be, a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. But depending on how this season goes, he might end up with a career looking a lot like Ryan Fitzpatrick versus, the Brett Favre comparisons after his rookie dominance. And I think I'm okay with that, but I do think Baker has a lot of talent. He just needs some stability, some consistency, and some talent around him. He'll never be in the top tier quarterback ranks, but he can, at his best, he rounds out the top 10.
This year, it would have to be it. He has to take the Bucs to like 11-6 in a division win to get anybody ever to say, hey, we're going to take a shot at him being our guy.
Mm-hmm.
The Kansas City Chiefs win a barn burner down in Duval, 17-9 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. This was surprisingly a boring-ass game. Kelsey was back on a snap count. Chris Jones officially back. No points in this game until the 6th drive. I know that may sound normal to some people. 6 drives with the game with Kansas City involved. It started off with 5 straight punts, 9 total in the game, but then 5 straight punts, a field goal, 3 turnovers in 4 plays, and that's before Jacksonville turned it over on downs. This game was surprisingly a defensive game, and even though the Chiefs didn't look like the Chiefs typically do, Kelsey is back, going to be making his way back 100% on the field, and they're back in the win column.
Gross game, but I'm not really going to overreact. Notice how it's on the overreaction section. But I'm not going to overreact to the Chiefs' early season struggles. But I'm going to be honest, guys, it's on my radar. This is the first time. Okay, I get why you're shaking your head. And I let me be clear. This Chiefs team, as constructed, is still a team that can be an AFC championship team. I am just saying this is a team without the wide receivers, without the weapons. I don't know if they can get through the top tier in the AFC like they have in the past. I think that you could see a division loss out of this team.
I'm not going to overreact at all to this team because we said the same thing, and we would have said the same things about Peyton Manning or Tom Brady as they struggle with the worst receivers that they're gonna pull out of the grave and turn into, mid-tier receivers. But I'm not worried because I say this consistently, I will always bet on Patrick Mahomes to succeed because you lose every time you bet against him. So this team, I'm not worried about the struggles. They're going to end up winning the division. They might be second place instead of first in the AFC, but by the end of the year, they're going to be a juggernaut.
Off topic, kickers in the NFL are getting too good. Do you remember, guys, 15 years ago, we would be, if you got to the 40 on the opening drive, that'd be a 57-yard field goal. You just punt. It's like a foregone conclusion. We're just going to punt.
No,
just talking about the field goal in the game.
It's the opening drive of the game, and they're kicking it from midfield, and it goes through by 10 yards.
It's like the Steph Curry effect.
So Steven got mad at me the other day, but when we were talking about Mason Crosby, the guy was automatic until the Packers started making him kick from 50 plus, and then he was automatic from within 50. But then he would go 2 of 6 on the year of 50 plus, and it's that's the kicker of the NFL we're used to. And now it's if you don't go 80% from 50 plus, you're a Browns kicker who gets abandoned, and the Cardinals pick him up.
Well, the argument was, I'm it doesn't. He's not automatic because he was in the middle of an era change, and then when they change, it's but before that, dude was fucking automatic, and then. So that's like saying Ray Allen isn't as automatic as
he was
Steph Curry.
90%. Yeah, but Mason Crosby legitimately was 90% within 50. And then the minute he stretched beyond 50, he was always 50% or lower.
He was in Lambeau. Shit's cold.
It was crazy. I know, but shit's crazy when you look at it. It's the 1 yard difference. All of a sudden, he was
I think it's
90% to 50%.
Well, you remember back in, I guess it still happens, but on basketball games, if your player has his toe on the 3-point line, they're odds of making the shot go up way higher because it's a mid-range 2 on the game. But if you slide that extra inch back, it's a mental thing almost where it's it's a 50-yarder. Yeah, it's a 50-yard field goal. I got to get extra leg on this, and it's almost you forfeit a little bit of your, accuracy when you do that.
Okay, but not to detract too. You know what else has gotten better beyond kicking is just punters in general. I was watching, so Geno Smith took that horrific sack late in the fourth.
Yes. I thought they were throwing the game.
Instead of throwing it away. Dude, I the punter was on the fucking white in the end zone, and he dropped a 65-yard air punt, and I was sitting there, I was I used to shit my pants when that shit happened 10 years ago, and now I watched it happen 3 times this week. I legitimately thought they were fucked, and then he bailed them out of it. But whatever. Anyways, the last one of the email segment, the game that we all passed on last week, that ended up being shockingly a good game. The Giants at Arizona win 31-28 after after the most horrific first 6 quarters of football on the season.
Maybe
the Giants were down 60. Yeah, like of all time, maybe the Giants were down 60-0 on the season through 6 quarters of football, and somehow, after being down 20-0, they battled their way back to win 31-28. Daniel Jones was like nearly perfect in the second half. He was 17-21, 260 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, he spread the ball around to half the receiving core, which I can't even name their receivers. That's how bad they are. So it doesn't make up for the first 6 quarters of football where he was arguably the worst quarterback in the NFL. But, at least they turned a corner. But they still ended up big losers because Saquon Barkley's out for a couple weeks with a sprained ankle, or at least the last time I checked was a sprained ankle. And then Arizona, I don't know. Like, just wow. You get outscored 31-8 in the second half. That's like Falcons, Patriots, Super Bowl numbers. It's just so bad. It's so bad.
Another defensive coach just choking off bad decisions here. You want a young you have a young quarterback in Kyler Murray, potentially looking at Caleb Williams to build an offense around him, and you go and hire a defensive coach. I mean, the scripts just don't write themselves. And Arizona's just been an absolute dumpster fire the past 3 years anyway. So New York, this is hysterical. Again, shout out to the plus 700 live money line. I threw a free little bet on to help me scrape up from the bottom of me just getting smoked on that parlay I posted on Twitter. The Giants are still so bad.
Arizona fans, I mean, if you exist, 220 days and you will have Caleb Williams. That's what this is about. And enjoy. What have I said in the past, Steven? Embrace the suck. Embrace the suck,
Except
Arizona.
You can go back.
And then here's the thing. You watch teams like Indianapolis beat up on Houston. You get 2 best of both worlds right now. Both of your picks are 0-2.
Can I ask you something, Wally?
I would love to. I'd love to hear it.
If you're Arizona, you're committing to that, right? You're committing to Caleb Williams.
So committed.
Do you trade Kyler Murray at the deadline to one of the most quarterback-hungry teams in the NFL? Like the Jets, for instance?
I have been pitching this for, I feel like, 4 or 5 months. The moment you think Kyler Murray is healthy.
Kyler to Washington?
Ooh, hear me out. Do the Jets take Kyler for Aaron and a pick?
I don't know if you're legally... how does that work? I feel like if you're on the IR...
I don't know how it works, but the Jets probably can't trade for him, technically. They want him bad, but they probably can't have him. I don't know where does he go? Because there are some QB hungry teams.
Atlanta, depending on how Ritter goes.
Well,
Atlanta's actually a perfect spot, a landing spot for him, because
especially with
I don't believe in Kyler Murray, but he is good enough to make Atlanta a legitimate threat. He's
Super Bowl threat,
right? He's good enough to make them a legitimate threat with the talent.
What if Tennessee wants to get him?
My only thoughts are, while a fascinating conversation to have, I think it's a little bit. I don't feel like it's realistic because there's such an anti-tanking push that the NFL is trying to make to pretend like teams aren't tanking, that you can't keep Kyler Murray on your bench if he's healthy. And I think that they're just like, hey, we're not going to risk it. We'll sit him out. We'll keep him on the pup. We'll keep him on IR. We'll take Caleb Williams, and we'll cross this bridge in March and try to trade him then.
Dude, every time I look over, I'm just seeing Frank Reich's dumb mug on here. Dude, I can't stand that guy.
I will say Derek Carr's cleats kind of looking like basketball shoes. It's a cool look. Maybe I'm just too in love with Derek Carr, but I don't know.
I haven't seen it. My dog's freaking out because there's a cat that just walked by, so.
It's fair. I'd bark if I saw a cat.
It was the biggest cat. It was the biggest cat I just saw, too. Frank Reich was right on my screen. With that, let's get on to our Week 2 recap here, brought to you by Abby Turner Creative, the one-stop shop marketing agency specializing in branding, high-end photography, fashion, and more, especially if you're our age where it feels like there's a college graduation, baby pictures, engagements, weddings, you name it. They're happening every weekend. Abby Turner Creative is the only way to go. Check it out for yourself at abbyturnerphoto.com. That's Abby, ABBEY, or on her Instagram, Sawdad and Sapphire. Again, abbyturnerphoto.com. Week 2, we got the homework assignments, little class presentation, and of course, let me get my dunce hat on. I'm up first because my Green Bay Packers choked away an easy victory to losing to Atlanta 25-24. And god damn it, did I miss Aaron Rodgers. 57 seconds left on the clock, no timeouts, got to march down the field to get a field goal to win. Man, does reality hit you pretty quickly, but it was bad. Green Bay's defense just completely shit the bed in the fourth quarter. Just allowed Atlanta to move the ball on them at will, which they were doing all game during the run game. If you remember, that was something I was very, very nervous about. And just like the past decade plus, shocker, they still can't stop the run because Atlanta goes for 211 yards on the run, and Bijan was taking some of the defenders' ankles with him. There's so many lines for excuses. You know, Atlanta had a touchdown that was called back. Green Bay has 2 dropped interceptions that they could have, in total, picked off Desmond Ridder 3 times before halfway through the second quarter. They dropped that. The offense just stalls out. You choke the game away. It's obviously it's growing pains here in Green Bay. It's rough. But Atlanta, all of a sudden now, they're going to be 2-0. Depending how this Monday night game goes, I don't know, because anything can happen in the division. But Green Bay missing Aaron Jones, Christian Watson, David Bakhtiari, Elton Jenkins, their left guard ended up going. That showed. But you know what? I'm really happy about how Jordan Love played with all the rookie receivers. They're growing in baptism by fire right now, so this should be helping in the long run. But god damn it, does it suck right now.
I didn't watch this game, so I'm not going to pretend that I'm going to have any knowledgeable points whatsoever. But I can imagine how much, like, if Aaron Rodgers is playing this game, Green Bay probably wins by a touchdown or more. And I think Love has been playing well, but I just think it's a little bit different. Atlanta probably game plans differently, and that turns out like a way different game. But I'm kind of shocked that Green Bay lost this game. I really am.
I was sitting next to Evan Desiker, that dick. No, he was a great guy to sit next to during that game. I enjoyed it, but it was just comical the way that it started out. It was ugly. There was Green Bay quick 3 and out. I think Ritter threw like an interception. Green Bay did something shitty. Atlanta gets stopped at the goal line. And it was just like, man, it's one of those games. Then it just turned up for the final 3 quarters. And Jordan looks like he's looked decent. Like his completion percentage isn't great, but dude's got the most touchdowns right now through the 2 weeks. He's top 4 in QBR. Like adjusted yards per passing, he's number 1 with like 9.6 yards. So he looks good. It's just clear when you don't have Aaron Jones and you don't have that running game to rely on, and how bad A.J. Dillon was yesterday on top of the O-line. If you're going to make Jordan Love play quarterback, that's eventually going to catch up with this offense, and results like this happen.
I get missing Aaron Rodgers. It's Aaron Rodgers. You're going to miss Aaron Rodgers. But Jordan Love has looked good. Like that last drive, I understand that's the point.
So bad. And what about when he fell over when he was trying to get the...
Where he looked drunk on the quarterback.
That was it was butt fumble unluckiness. Like he got caught off balance, and he'll remember that the rest of his career.
But every single Sunday, and when I was really pitching Kylie on football a few years ago, I was like, I promise you'll see something that you've never seen and you'll never see again on Sundays. And that was it. I was like, I've never fucking seen a quarterback do that before, and that doesn't make me have confidence.
But that was one play.
Brett Favre was on painkillers for half his career.
Sending dick pics to other people too. Sorry, Wally.
Hey, that's cool.
No, after Younghoe Koo hit that field goal to put him up by 25-24, if the game stopped at that moment with a minute left, not knowing how the game ended, I thought it was a win for both teams. Through 2 weeks, I think if you're a Packers fan, this is above my wildest expectations. Yeah, you lost a tough fourth quarter. you blow that lead. I understand, but you're right. You don't have Aaron Jones. The defense is going to get, a lot of defenses, by the way, are going to get worn down the way Atlanta plays you.
Yeah, dude. 45 rushes.
This is 2 playoff teams, both of them, and this could be a matchup you could see again. It was my guilty pleasure game this Sunday. I had so much fun watching it. You guys know how high I am in Atlanta this year, and it feels like it's just getting like pushed even further through the roof for me. It's a team that everybody else has zigged and they have zagged. They have leaned into this old defense. They've leaned into this rush attack. And I hope it works because they are a fun team.
Also, Jonnu Smith was tearing us up. And like the whole time, I'm like, why can't you just do that with Kyle Pitts? And Evan's like, yeah, I know, man. That's why we picked him 8th overall. It's pretty sick, isn't it?
So
and Jonnu Smith, go figure, stuck like in the desert of New England for years too.
Yep.
So while we're talking about Wally predictions I disagree with, it's probably a great time to transition to Seattle, Detroit, where Seattle beat them 37-31 in overtime. Geno Smith finished the game 32 of 41, 328 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He was phenomenal. However, I said it earlier, and I'm going to continue to hammer it on him. He should be taking some, he got lucky because he would be taking some massive blame for that late fourth quarter sack right next to right next to the sideline. It was like a 20-yard loss, and he could have just thrown it out of bounds, and it would have been fine. But he takes the sack, and he's lucky Detroit didn't capitalize on that enough to beat them. But regardless, O-line for Seattle was better this week. The run game showed that the line still has a lot of work to go because it was highly inefficient. Lockett was that, as always, and forever will be, Geno Smith's pressure release valve. 8 catches for 60 yards and 2 touchdowns. The 60 yards tell you that he was the check down receiver, and he was needed often, right? As for Detroit, Goff was near perfect, 28 of 35, 323, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. My one note about Detroit is Jahmyr Gibbs, man. You watch David Montgomery go down, and then all of a sudden Craig Reynolds takes over as like the lead back, and it's like, what are we doing here? Like, I'm not sure what Detroit is doing, or what Detroit is doing with Jahmyr Gibbs, but it's just like, it's making me question the hype train I got going for him because it's
I'm in so much pain.
Do you have him on fantasy?
I took him, 2nd overall or 3rd overall in the Dynasty rookie draft.
But I just, and I still believe him. I still believe he has all the talent in the world.
He's so explosive.
But it's like, where does Craig Reynolds come from? Just play Jahmyr. Just give him all the touches. I don't get it.
Well, Dan Campbell in his postgame has said that he basically wants Jahmyr Gibbs to get used to the NFL before he gets too many snaps. And I'm like, why did you take him 12?
Yeah, could have taken him 30th.
You have to take him, what are you doing?
You take him 12 because you think he's ready for snaps ASAP Rocky.
Oh my God. This was, I don't want to,
do we need a Hugh Jackson trade Carlos Hyde so we can see Jahmyr Gibbs play football? Do we need to trade all the running backs to see Jahmyr Gibbs play football?
There has to be no running backs on this team, and then he would play Chauncey Gardner-Johnson at running back. But let's for just a second, the Seahawks. That's what I'm talking about. We got dogs over on this end now. But, I mean, Geno, I get what you're saying, David, and he would have deserved a ton of blame had they lost. But he has been, I felt like he got a lot more doubt cast on him after 1 week, where he wasn't even that bad than a lot of other quarterbacks do. And I think it just kind of shows this is just who Geno is now. He's a good quarterback. And he's not going to ever do anything crazy, but with a team with the weapons around, if you give him time, he's going to be good. And that's what transitions me into Detroit. I know I probably overreacted last week to when they beat the Chiefs and said they were going to not go 9-8 like I said, but go 12-5 and win the division. I'm going to almost overreact back now because I'm really nervous. Now that we're 2 weeks in, we talked at length about how last week the Seahawks lost both their starting tackles. And you can't get more than one quarterback hit, and that includes the sack, mind you. They hit Geno Smith one time. That is bad, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous about the Lions D. Still think they'll win the division, but I'm a little nervous.
Right, and Seattle's back was against the wall because they could easily been in that one of those teams we're talking about starting 0-2 that maybe we're a little bit surprised on. But yeah, this was a game for Seattle that almost has me walking back their 9-8, 8-9 regular season, and I believe just sneaking in or just missing the playoffs. I'd have to look back on it, but I mean the Seahawks are back. You know, Pete Carroll's East Coast record is phenomenal at 1 o'clock, and I don't know why. The Seattle plus 4.5 was such a lock of the century on this. I don't know why I didn't put my entire rent on it, but I think you guys just hit the nail on the head, right? We're gonna have a lot of problems with Jahmyr Gibbs and Craig Reynolds now getting the touches here. Jared Goff throws his first interception, like 350 plus pass attempts. That they would not shut the fuck up about that last week. We all should have known to just take that bet this week. But no, this is a great game for Seattle. To your point, their offensive line is playing great, and they had pieces missing. They had their starting left tackle out. Was Charles Cross play too? Was he out?
I think both of the starting tackles were out. Abraham Lucas too.
And I want to say they had a guard that was even out too. Regardless, like that play on words, a team coming from the West Coast after playing what they, just getting embarrassed at home last week and going into Detroit, a team that was coming off that very emotional win. But these are one of the games that helps us prove that point. It's a lot harder to win those emotional games when you win versus getting blown out and lose, because look what Seattle did.
Let's move to a game we
David,
already
you were hot
talked
this
about.
week with class presentation, Bob.
I know, but I get all the games that I kind of hate low key, but also have a lot to talk about.
For the record, you picked them, so that's
I know, and they were going to be great at first, and then they ended up being really disappointed because I lost every bet I placed on them. So naturally, we move on to the Chargers and Tennessee, who we already talked about a little bit. Tennessee beats the Chargers 27-24 in overtime. Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen, man, what a duo for the year. In this game, they had eight receptions, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns for Keenan Allen. Outside of him, there wasn't really anything on offense that spoke to anyone at all. You had a run game that managed 61 total fucking yards without Austin Eckler. I mean, I said it earlier, I alluded to it earlier, but Herbert in his last 4 games has 1,130 passing yards, 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 66 completion percentage, and he's 0-4. That is that, and it can't be a defensive problem because their defense has names all over the place. They're good, they're solid. Like at worst, they're solid. It just speaks to a coaching problem. But as far as Tennessee goes, I mean, Tannehill, after the worst week of his career in week 1, came back, had an 83% completion percentage, 250 yards, a touchdown. I mean, he was king game manager again, but I can't, you look at the stats, and I can't decipher how Tennessee won this game because Derrick Henry was tied in targets with DeAndre Hopkins and Trayvon Burks at like 4 targets. We're not even talking about like 8 targets. We're talking about 4 targets for all 3 of those
Derrick
guys.
Henry didn't even run the ball well in this game.
I know. You said
he
had like 25 carries for 70 yards and a touchdown. You look at the box score, and I know this isn't a box score game, but like you look at the box score and you just like sit there and you're like, how the hell did Tennessee put up 27 points on the board? It just, the math just like doesn't make sense.
This is a classic Tennessee team. They are just grinding it out and getting it done. And for LA, I just don't get it. And I don't mean to toot my own horn because I had to go back on here and look at what I was looking at in the schedule. I had the Chargers starting 0-2, losing to Miami and Tennessee, and then ripping some off here. But no, it speaks to what their defense is. To your point, David, they have a bunch of names, but for some reason, they're all running around with like chickens with their head cut off. They can't play. There's no fluidity. Like we even saw it from the first snap last week when Wally told me about it on Thursday. You have Khalil Mack over Tyreek Hill, and he's like begging somebody to come do their job.
He's like, I'm lost. Help me. Somebody help me.
I know I ain't got the right play, but I know this is not how it's supposed to go. Like,
Yeah,
I'm not supposed to be over. No. No, that's like picking me to fucking, I don't know, be one of your
Dude, do you remember there was a Super Bowl commercial where it was like a GoDaddy, where it was the ugliest dude in the world making out with a supermodel chick for like 30 seconds? That's what Khalil Mack looked like trying to guard Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, and I don't get it. And again, it just keeps going back to Brandon Staley, because when in doubt, you have to blame the coach, because the offense is doing the job. Even without Eckler in the lineup, they're still producing and still putting numbers up. It just doesn't make sense. I don't know how it's possible. They're like the opposite of the Chargers. They have to have like an outrageous like point differential and just still have a really bad losing record. I can see them being like plus 100 and also being like, I don't even know, what is it, 22 and however many.
You said it perfectly though, because this was so Titans, but it was also so Chargers. We've watched football all our lives, and it's amazing that we still do when it's the simplest thing in the world. Good teams win, bad teams lose. Good coaches help their teams win, bad coaches help their teams lose. And that was what this game was. Good culture beat the Chargers.
It's so bad. Well, this culture is not really changing too much, as Sean McVay proves that he's just still cannot beat Kyle Shanahan. But you know what he can beat? The people that picked San Fran minus 7.5, because he kicks a field goal as time expires to cover. Hey, good teams win, great teams cover, baby. That's all I got to say. Sean McVay is in tune. He's the LA man himself. But you know what's cool? Puka Nacua setting an NFL record, most receptions through his first 2 games. What was it? More 20 plus, because he had 15 of 147 yesterday. He almost broke it just yesterday. But LA kept this game until it was late in the fourth quarter here. Then all of a sudden, Matt Stafford pick 6. I can't keep up with it. But an interception then led to a 10-point deficit and a turnover on downs. It just unraveled really quickly. But I will say, nonetheless, LA is still impressing me here, being 1-1. What they did against the Seahawks last week and being able to keep up against San Fran, and after their just demolishment of the Pittsburgh Steelers last week. So maybe the Rams of the NFC West, that might be the barn burner of the division of the NFC. But all in all, San Fran is still king for right now.
I think the Rams are the most surprising team of the season so far.
Yeah.
I think we wrote off the Rams based on last season, where they were, Stafford was injured most of the season. Kupp was injured the whole season. I do think this team is capable of winning 10 games with Matt Stafford at quarterback after watching. Do they do it? Probably not, but are they capable of it? Absolutely, with McVay and Stafford at the helm. To me, they're just the most surprising team. I am shocked they kept it so close against the Niners, because I really would have. I would have bet the Niners beat them into oblivion before, hindsight.
And it looked like it was in San Francisco, by the way.
Of course it does. It always does. Levi South.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm impressed with the Rams. I think they're going to make me crow. But I also think that they're going to revert to who they really are before long. And that's just an average football team, or maybe a slightly below average football team. They're playing way above their heads right now. Puka Nacua looks great. We'll see if that's actually who he is, or if it's just this offense yet again proving that it can take a receiver and bring absolutely unbelievable production to him. People were comparing this guy to Cooper Kupp even a month ago, saying he could play a similar role. If that's the case, who knows? Maybe this rebuild isn't going to be that much of a rebuild after all. But San Francisco.
What does that say about Cooper Kupp? Does that mean he's just an industry baby? Does it make you second guess at all? I never really put any thought into it, but it's...
Not yet, because you don't accidentally win the Triple Crown because of a system. But I do get what you're saying, because I definitely think McVay is making it so he's capitalizing on these players. But that's what good coaching does. And that's what's so frustrating when you are a Browns fan, when you are a Raiders fan, when you are a Lions fan of the past. All these teams, bad coaching. It's what we just talked about in the last game. It's very frustrating. It's the most undercover thing that the average fan doesn't pay attention to or notice. Coaching matters in the NFL.
Broncos country, let's ride. Broncos country,
And Sean Payton
let's ride.
is 0-2.
Broncos country.
And Steven and I are fist pumping. And I can't tell you guys what that last 30 seconds did to me yesterday. I went from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows, back to the highest of highs in the course of about 60 seconds. Wow. And you look at the stat book, you want to talk about box score watching, David? If you just look at the box score, you see Russell Wilson? Is this the Russell Wilson of old? 308 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. What it doesn't show you is that over half of the yards he threw for in this game came from 3 passes. Good balls, mind you, except for the Hail Mary.
That Hail Mary, no.
Yeah,
I mean,
you
how
get what I
many,
mean.
how many yards was that? Was that like 65?
That was, I believe it was probably the 60-yard one. So Marvin Mims had 2 catches for an average of 56 and a half yards. So one was 50 and one was 53. So
you guys think you hate Sean
guess
Payton? Nobody hates Sean Payton more than the NFL Referees Association.
Okay, that's
my
fair.
God. That's not even the worst missed PI call of his
Yeah, but like
of his coach.
egregious
He's like,
nonetheless.
oh, we're missing that one. Cool. All right, man. Same time next week. Thank you, sir.
That
Thanks
was
for letting me
one of those
feedback.
calls where immediately after, I have to immediately go, I guess I didn't call it. That sucks. Like, damn it. Guess it's not PI then.
Yeah, that was bad. You know what sucks? If Russell Wilson literally looks, Jerry Jeudy's open. Like, all he had to do was lead him.
Oh, that's weird. Russell Wilson missing a throw.
Yeah, but this game had no reason being fun. All these 4 o'clock games were amazing yesterday. I think the worst one was the LA San Fran one up until late in that game. But no, Sam Howell, watch out, Brian Robinson, many men coming, 85 plus yards, 2 tutties. But that's Scary Terry. That Scary Terry touchdown. Sam Howell dropped a dime, double coverage, double and a half coverage almost. There's a third guy that you can see there in the picture. But Washington, they're just fun. These teams stay the same each year. You can't expect too much more, too much less. Washington is just that fun team. They're just off to a really weird hot start, but you know that they're going to come right back down to earth here soon.
The key thing we talk about, it obviously was a fun game. It worked out well. The Denver Broncos were up 21-3 in this game. Having the ball with 7 minutes to go. And what happens at midfield? Midfield, as in they are 20 yards away from making this a 21-point game or a 4-possession game with a touchdown. But Russell Wilson gets sacked. He fumbles the ball. And then all of a sudden, the sky falls in on Denver. It was, let me do math here. It was less than 10 game minutes later, the game was tied. They went from 21-3 to tied in 10 minutes. That is a problem. This defense that people were saying was going to be a lot better is not that much better. Nope. The offense, people, and like the scripted plays, we love talking about scripted plays, and that makes sense because if you go first 15 plays, all right, let me do a little math. 17 plays. The first 17 plays, the Broncos got 21 points. The rest of the game, they got 12. Russell Wilson's broke. That sucks. I'm bummed out about it. I really am.
Fucking liar.
The last but not least, the game that we watched, we have the Sunday night game where the Miami Dolphins beat the New England Patriots up in Gillette 24-17. My lock of the week. Easiest money ever made.
It was pretty easy.
I also went to sleep, so I didn't have like the stresses. I didn't sweat it out like I really should have. But
dude, the thing that I think everybody's going to talk about in this game are 2 things. Either it's the offensive lineman Cole Strange, who, mind you, Sean McVay and Les Snead laughed at getting picked at on night 1 a couple of years ago, or the other play being I can't remember who it was, but the special teamer for New England. On Bill Belichick's instruction.
Yeah. That was an all-timer. I don't even know what his freaking name is, and that was an all-timer.
I can't either. It's gonna bother me now.
If I
It's
saw
not
it,
Van
I'd
Ginkel because that's the Dolphins dude.
No,
Van
it's like
Ginkel.
Smythe or Smith or something.
Like SMYTHE or something like that.
Yeah, Durham Smythe.
There it is. We're back.
I think
that's Durham Smythe is a tight end for the Dolphins, y'all.
Oh, never mind.
Too bad. He's
know.
blocking kicks for the Patriots at night.
Yeah, I don't know. All I know.
Tight end by day, kick blocker by night.
Look, I watched this whole fucking game. This whole game, and the only takeaway I have is that was the sexiest block. I mean, literally watching the game, cool. You just see him sprint out of the left-hand side of the screen, and as he takes a step forward, the ball snapped, and the minute I saw it, I was like, that kick's blocked. Like, that kick is blocked. It felt
like a touchdown coming.
It's shades of Troy Polamalu jumping the center. It's just like it was perfection.
That was Christian Wilkins, too, that got beat on there.
Rip.
God.
Bad look.
Rip.
But the Patriots now are back-to-back weeks, literally being that close from knocking off two very good teams, but you're 0-2. You have to win, or the losses are losses this time of year. Wins are wins. You have to get a couple wins here. Got to go at least 2-1 in this next stretch. Otherwise, I think a very competitive Patriots team will be dead way too early.
Before we head out, we want to give our final thoughts on the Monday night game that I have Michael Thomas in for fantasy, as well as the New Orleans Saints defense to claw me back. I need 28 points. Unrealistic. Think again. I've seen crazier things happen.
Oh! They're saying he's out? No, come on.
I don't
Sorry.
know what part of the game I'm at. Chill.
Where are you at time-wise? It's 10:49 the second for me.
Yeah.
No way they called that out.
Oh, he's sitting down. His ass is quite literally in bounds.
It must be because he doesn't have control until...
Hold on. I'm about to see it.
No, he has control. That's a challenge. That shit. That's a catch.
Derek Carr's elite. Saints are champions. That's my prediction for this game.
Yeah, honestly, Saints
Michael
win.
Thomas.
Falcons and Saints
I
are
can't
both
believe
going to
they're
go
not going to challenge
16-1.
this. I can't believe they're not going to challenge us. Somebody get
Dennis Allen.
Somebody get the flag out of Bill Belichick's sock. We need a challenge.
There has to be a reason that they're not challenging, and if we find that out later, I'm going to be pissed.
Why is Dennis Allen yelling at Mike Thomas? All right, we got to move on.
I think he's actually saying you caught it. Nice job.
Cleveland Browns at Pittsburgh.
Anyways,
that's definitely a catch.
Yeah, I think that was like a coach, like, let's go. You're that dude. You're that.
Yeah, but
dog.
why not challenge it?
I think they are. I think they're overturning it or something because the offense came back on the field.
Oh, it is 1st and goal. They overturned it, but I didn't see a challenge flag. So what happened?
Yeah, Dennis Allen. He's just such a good coach.
Sometimes they don't let you waste it, and they're just like, "We got you."
Anyways, the last game, like you said, Steelers, Browns. I'm not going to say anything. You guys know my call. I had 16-13 Browns. I have the under because David hates George Pickens. Otherwise, very excited to watch the top two edge rushers in the league outside Micah Parsons. What do you guys think?
24-14 Browns.
The Browns.
Yeah, that's a lot of points. Give me Amari Cooper. I need him.
But look at the last 10 matchups between the two teams. Somebody always scores 28 points.
16-13 Browns.
Browns.
You got to go. It's the Yinzer way to do it. The Browns.
This is a big week for our bet, though, boys, because Deontay Johnson is on IR, so it's George Pickens season, and if he flounders, yikes.
I'm not too worried about it. I have 17 weeks to get to 3,000 yards.
Before we head out, the Lions are feared that C.J. Gardner-Johnson tore his pectoral.
What?
In yesterday's loss.
Oh, so I guess he's not going to be running back after all.
Huge loss in the secondary. That's
the Lions are
Mike Garafolo here. So, yeah, Lions are done. Packers like they never fucking left. That'll bring us to the end of another episode of Loss of Down. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe to us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Loss of Down, and retweet us on Twitter, _loss. Remember this episode is brought to you by Abby Turner Creative, as well as the Bruiser Nation Podcast Network. Boys, do we have any parting words?
You know, I think I did a minute ago, but I accidentally was in such an excitement to get out of here. I exited out, so now I'm stalling while talking, trying to find my last thought for you. And I'm still a page away, and now, it was just enjoy tonight, David. Good luck. Wow, that was kind of a low. Look at me being a good friend. That's all it was.
Yeah, sick. I'm never going to get that time back.
You're welcome. I love you all. Anybody else? Final thoughts? Good luck in Acrisure Stadium, all of you folks.
Yeah, that's so bad. I keep forgetting.
Yeah, and that can go for the Browns and Steelers.
Look, I don't even like the Steelers, and Heinz Field is
It's Heinz.
Yeah, it's just it's like the Jake. You just
Yes.
you don't go back after.
Yeah, like
Jake.
Yeah, like it's not Progressive Field. It's never been Progressive Field. It's the
know,
Jake.
Right.
I've gone to Jacobs Field a few times when I was up in Cleveland growing up.
It
Yeah,
is-
it's just you're
yeah,
right.
it's
It is
just-
the name.
Right. Ugh.
All right, my
This
final
game is
thought.
ugly as fuck.
I
They
was gonna say
cannot score
Derek Carr in the
touchdowns.
red zone it's gross every year. I love him too much to see him play that poorly in the red zone. Anyways.